Live. Hello, YouTube. We're not in.
We're not in where?
There we are.
Oh. Right. Is it?
Okay. So nobody.
Also, Lauren, make a list, yeah? So you need to get 50 people in a week, and we need to check what's in the waiting room. What shows up in the waiting room. I want to change that and make it better. Because it's the waiting room anytime anyone does a Zoom call with me. So it needs to be flexible for both.
Yeah. Okay.
Can we look at that after?
Maybe
You're right, Sonny.
Maybe it's time for webinar software. What do you think?
Yeah, definitely. Should I start letting everyone in?
Yeah. Here they come.
Right.
To anybody on YouTube?
How do we
You're
change
there?
that so we can see everything?
Also,
Let's do that.
YouTube, and there's a couple of people on Facebook, YouTube. If so, the webinar's starting now. If anybody, just let me rearrange this. I can't do two things at once. No, I can't.
Hi everybody. We will be getting going shortly. There we go. Lots of nice faces there. Yeah,
There you go.
That's
There
it.
we
Now
go.
I can see everybody.
So we're live on YouTube and Facebook. If anybody wants to get into the webinar, you're welcome to stay where you are and listen on the platform. You won't get the slides, you'll just get the audio, you won't get the visual. If you want the slides, and there's a couple of downloads you might want throughout the webinar, click on YouTube, the last video, Facebook, the last post. If you click on it, you can join the webinar, which I'm looking at now. So you're just seeing us live streamed in the studio, looking at our screen. If you want what we're seeing and the downloads, click on the links, join us on the webinar. Hello to everybody on the webinar. There's still quite a few people joining. Good to see you. Cameras on. Let's see your faces. How are you looking this morning? Hey, hi guys. Hi Colin. See Colin.
Yeah. Oh yes, Colin.
Hello Dino. See Dean up there.
So we've got some of our team on the call today. I'm going to introduce you to them in a bit. I can see a few other familiar faces. Hamish, who I spoke to this week. How you doing? Fantastic. So today we're going to be talking about buy-to-let hotspots. And we are going to get going shortly. There's always a few latecomers, so let's just give them a minute just to let them in. Lauren will be looking after that. There'll be some messages in the group chat throughout the call. If you've got any questions for the end section, the Q&A, we always do a Q&A at the end. If you've got any questions that you want us to answer today, pop them in the group chat. We'll read them out and we'll answer them. Don't be shy, and we won't make you put your mic on and talk to everybody. We'll just read your question out. Shall we get going?
Get going. Right, there's the title. Where are the UK's buy-to-let hotspots? So put a little tagline under there. Who are we to be telling you where any of these hotspots are? I think there's not many things that I'm very good at. This is one of the things I can boast that I'm quite good at. Finding the right spots, buying the right houses. Since I started buying houses nearly 20 years ago, either for myself or for clients, we've bought over 1,200 houses, and I think that every single one of them was a good deal, was in a buy-to-let hotspot. Interestingly, hopefully you'll find it interesting. It's interesting to me. What was a hotspot 20 years ago? Maybe you might say, obviously, isn't a hotspot now. So that the subject of the webinar is going to be, what worked in the past. It's not just where the hotspots now. It's what worked in the past and why. Why has it moved on? Where are we now? And maybe even a little bit, where are we going to see ourselves in the future?
Yeah.
So Adam's.
And we'll put a few shameless plugs in there as well.
Of course, yeah. I mean, just a little bit about us. We're forthelandlords.com. We're a letting agent. We're always going to point that out, because unless we do, some people think, who are these guys? Are they selling an education course? What's the catch? There's no catch whatsoever. We stick all this stuff out there for free. We are a letting agent, and we know that if we keep doing this over and over and over again, about 5% of anybody that's on a call we end up doing business with at some point. So that's the only reason we do it. If you're one of the 95%, sit back, get it all for free. If you're one of the 5%, speak to Adam and we'd love to do business with you. But there's no other agenda other than that. we're a letting agency, we manage properties, we rent them out, we fix the leaky taps, we re-rent them out, we do the contracts, we do all those things. So once we have found a landlord that needs that help or sourced a property, that's how we're building a lettings business. We don't advertise on the back of a bus or in a magazine or anywhere else. We've even stopped putting flagboards out now. We're 100% on the internet. It's social media, word of mouth, and then people come and meet us on a webinar.
Indeed.
Famous for two things. The first thing is something that I know that every landlord needs. We call it one-page landlord business plan. It's something that we developed coming from a place as I'm a landlord myself. I'm the founder of forthelandlords.com, and all honesty, before I had this plan, I didn't do a very good job of being a landlord, and I think lots of landlords are in that position. Where do you start? This is a plan, and I appreciate it's just a little graphic on the screen, but it's a conversation that we'd have with you day one. It might take 2 minutes or 2 hours, and we can just keep having it. It's a running track.
It doesn't even need to be where you start. It can just be where are you now. Let's put that into the plan and optimise everything.
Yeah, it just makes sure you have the right conversations and prompts the conversation. It's a running track. We will always go around those 5 spokes, figure out where you are now, where you want to be, and we will help you get there. Unlike any other letting agent I've ever seen, we will get involved in the nitty gritty, and something if you need a solicitor or an accountant or somebody to sort out your section 24 tax, somebody to fix a leaky tap, somebody to write you a board report, whatever it is, somebody to help you write down your goals and help you achieve, celebrate when you achieve. We will help you with all those things, unlike any other letting agent. The second thing we're famous for is being the UK's #1 property sourcer. Here's your man, shameless plug. If you want a property sourced, then Adam is your man. We've, like I said, over 1,200 houses now. We operate in, that's why we're doing the webinar, I'm sure there's some undiscovered, of the UK's buy-to-let hotspots, and we're going to talk about that today. First slide, and then I'll get it down. This is all our opinion. I think that's worth noting, isn't it?
Yeah, it's true.
You might have a different opinion. Challenge us, test us on why we think what we think, and put us to the test. We like that kind of conversation. Stick your thoughts in the chat, and I know that what we're going to talk about today has worked well and served me personally well and our clients over the last decade or so. I think we're pretty good at identifying hotspots. So take it away, Adam. What's the first thing we want to talk about?
Well, I think the first thing we said we were going to talk about, and I'm actually going to introduce you to some of my team in a minute as well, but it was to touch very quickly on where we don't source and why. The areas that have been and gone, that have passed, where you don't get the yield anymore. We perhaps in some of these areas we did invest in the past. For example, we don't touch London. We're based in Nottingham. We cover the Midlands and the north of England. You don't get the returns in London anymore, the yield. Some people say they invest in London for capital growth, or we get capital growth in all the areas we invest, so we're fine with that. We don't invest in the big shiny cities, Manchester, Leeds, parts of Liverpool, parts of Nottingham where we're based, parts of Sheffield where they were hotspots, they're just not anymore. We can do better. We can get a better return for our money, and we can get a better bump of capital growth on buying the houses cheap, doing a renovation like we used to in the shiny parts of Nottingham. And then we're going to talk about where we do source and why, the hotspots. And I have a team of sourcing and renovation managers. 2 are on the call. I can see Dean there. His name is Hull. He covers our Hull area. Dean's sourced and renovated nearly 100 houses in that area, and that's an area we love. I've got David on the call. He looks like he's in his van. He's based in Newcastle, and he covers around the Tyne area, and we've got a few other areas to talk about as well. Shall we talk about what is a hotspot? How do you define it?
So I think we're going to build it up. We're going to talk about the areas you don't source. So some of this it's all opinion, like we said, but we get asked this a lot. Where to invest. And I think the first thing that Adam's got on his list there is where don't we invest. And as soon as you rule out certain areas, then you could, all things being equal, and they're not, say I'll invest everywhere else. Yeah. So the areas that we don't invest in. Broadly speaking, if you look at anywhere, whether it's a city or anywhere, so London, Nottingham, Liverpool, wherever, we wouldn't invest in the most expensive areas in an area. So if you want to tag areas with a 1 to 10, let's say use the Monopoly board. Old Kent Road is a 1 and Mayfair is a 10. Yeah. Paupers to the Millionaires Road. I mean, you can't buy anything on the Old Kent Road now for under £1 million, but it's that's probably something the way hotspots disappear. But you can see what we're saying. So it's the Bronx to Manhattan. It's whatever to Beirut. It's whatever. So almost always, if you're an investor looking for the kind of yields that we want, like what we call commercial yields, anywhere from 8 to 12%, you're going to be looking at the 2s, 3s and 4s on that scale. You wouldn't look at the 1s probably, because that's the Bronx, it's Beirut, there's houses on fire, there's cars burning in the street, it's a bit too edgy. You've always got to be on the lookout for the areas that are a 1, that are next to a 2 and a 3 or surrounded by, and they're coming up. That's part of what we do. We'll come on to that later as well. But as soon as you get past maybe areas 4, 5, 6, then you're not getting those commercial yields that we're looking for.
They're the areas where you aspire to live. Let's be honest.
Now, it's also if you have got, and we have clients like this, and if you are a client who wants us to source a property and you want us to source a £500,000 4-bed detached in West Bridgeford, we'll find it for you, no problem at all. We'll make sure it's a deal and a bargain. And if you've got some money you just want to leave sat there, that might be an option. But I'll be honest, most people who come with that as almost a requirement or a thought, it doesn't take long into the conversation where a tiny bit of education of, you know what, you could, instead of buying that house, you could buy 2 or 3 over there. And then the questions will come into your mind, well, are they rentable? Do they go in value? Are the tenant type going to be okay? The answer to all this stuff, and we're not going to go into this too much detail today, the fears that a landlord would have about going down the scale, tenant type, how quickly they'll rent, how much they'll go up in value, the typical 3, they're not just ill-founded, but often work opposite. Yeah. So Adam's kind of alludes to it, and we will get onto this, what is a hotspot and why. The cheaper stuff goes up in value quicker. You can instinctively know that a £50,000 house can go to a £100,000 house a lot quicker than a £500,000 house can go to a £1 million.
People say like so many times, I wish I'd bought houses around there back then. Yeah.
So what we said there is we're discounting the really, really cheap stuff, and we're discounting the not even really expensive stuff, but the stuff that goes out of that slightly, you'd probably say the lower 30th percentile of the 100% scale, and you pick any area, that's roughly where you're going to want to be. And then you can apply the same logic to the country. So you could say, okay, in an area, in the country, where is the most expensive, the capital growth has happened, whatever. Some people, and this is a word that I've heard, and it was gold-plated. I want gold-plated yields. Now, that always brings an alarm bell for me. A couple of guys, they might not use the word gold-plated, but they will say, I want to be in Manchester. Yeah. Nottingham comes up, we're in Nottingham. Yeah. They name the cities they know, and if you just apply that 1 to 10 logic, you're already in the 7, 8s and 9s. You're paying a premium because the perceived it's in a big city. Now, I think the hotspots are linked to those areas. So let's say you say Nottingham, I might say Mansfield.
Sure.
You
North
say,
Nottingham,
yeah, North Nottingham, and you might go, where's Mansfield? Well, that's kind of the point. I looked once, I've forgotten, I think it's the 15th biggest city, or town, or something like that. It's big. It's town, yeah. It's town, yeah. So it's not somewhere you might be forgiven for not knowing
you might have just exactly.
Exactly. And there's so many places like that, but actually it's got a great big dual carriageway running straight from 2 motorways. It's a huge amount. Yeah, if you drive around it, you say, there's tens of thousands of people who live and work around here. So there needs to be that logic that gets laid on as well.
Manchester, no, but the smaller towns in Lancashire, yes.
Yeah.
Sheffield, no, but the smaller towns in South Yorkshire, yes. Same as that.
Yeah.
and on throughout the country.
Yeah. So we're sort of honing in there. You can see we've got an idea of in any area we want to be picking in the 3s and the 4s. We've discounted city centre flats in Manchester, for example. That, in our opinion, and of course, some people buy city centre flats in Manchester for an acceptable, in their opinion, 5% yield, but I don't believe they're going to be going up in value. I think their net yield after service charge and whatnot's going to be affected.
Yeah, tenant turnarounds, all
yeah.
that. So we define a hotspot really, in our opinion, as somewhere that the mainstream media aren't talking about. Really,
Up and coming.
And we like that. We don't want everyone to be talking about where we're buying because then it'll make it harder for us to find the deals. But we still have data that we rely on and we share with our clients to show that the areas where we do buy, and the houses that we buy, the properties that we source, there's good comparables, there's good rental demand, you can see what something's going to be worth. Do you want to talk more about what's worked well in the past, or should we just talk about what's working well now?
Well, let's sort of translate this to. I've got two more things to mention there, but yeah, let's go on to that there. So what we're going to talk about now is what's worked well in the past. So we have made a habit of buying the right house in the right area at the right time for the right price, doing the right things with it and holding it for a length of time. And it has worked. So there's no two ways about it, it's worked. I think there's two more things you need to layer on, maybe three. We talked about 1 to 10 in an area, 1 to 10 throughout the country. So you're picking in the right regional area and then you're narrowing it down to the right area within the region. You've then got to pick the right property type, and this might be 1 or 2 points. It's not, probably you're in the right area. You're in the area where these houses are prevalent. If you are in an area 3, 4 or 5, it is probably full of 2 and 3 bedroom houses.
Yeah.
But just in case there is a 5 bedroom house there, that's not what you're looking for.
No.
So the property type we're looking for is, generally speaking, a bit cheaper and a bit smaller than the house that you probably live in. But because of course, the rent versus what you paid for it makes sure your yield is right. You're already in the right area of the country, you're in the right area in the region, you're on the right street, and you're buying the right size house. To me, that is an investable thing. You are not buying a 5 bedroom mansion for £500,000 in even the right area in the right region and expecting it to yield 10%. It's very unlikely to happen. So that's that. And then the other bit to the property type is something that you can regenerate in some way, something you can add value to. Now, this may or may not be of interest to you. Some people, it completely turns them off. If you say to Adam, I really want you to source me a house, but I don't want a renovation, we can do that. But if you are prepared to add something to the property in some way, you will be well served. Simple as that. So if you can fit a new kitchen, new bathroom, you know that a builder near you somewhere buys a house, does it up and sells it on for a profit. Mm-hmm. If you can work that mechanism into your property portfolio, your growth of a buy-to-let portfolio, you buy something that's a bit run down, you do it up, but instead of selling it, you manage to keep that, what would be a profit, as equity, put it towards your deposit, you will definitely grow your portfolio quicker. Now, the extent to how much you can do that depends on the kind of house you find, the area, the price, your budget. You know, houses that need big renovations need big budgets. You can't mortgage a renovation.
Exactly.
If you're buying a really cheap house, we'll probably come on to this a bit later, but it's always worth noting this one down. I believe that some of the really cheaper houses are the ones that are going to get the biggest capital growth, and when we come along to the hotspots, we're going to try and differentiate between, let's say, further south stuff and further north stuff.
They're not just going to get that, they're going to get the biggest tenant demand as well.
True. But don't forget, when you're spending £15,000 on a renovation on a £50,000 house, that's a significant percentage of the valuation. A boiler or a central heating installation can cost 10% of the value of a very, very cheap house. Which cuts both ways. You might feel a bit nervous about that, but it's like, well, that's ridiculous. I mean, even in the cheapest areas where we're buying a 50, 60, 70,000 pound house, David Wilson Homes are putting a 200,000 pound house up next door, or a mile away or whatever, and that just all feeds into the local economy.
Dean in Hull, he's saying agreed at 50 grand this week.
There you are. So, and then leading on to it, we're talking about areas again, just before we talk about what worked well in the past. And all these things layer on. This is what's worked well in the past. An area of regeneration, something that's going on in the area that is going to bring the prices up. And in Northampton, it happened for me. It was regenerated. In Nottingham, it happened. So
it's happening again.
Putting all these things together, area. So we were in Nottingham. We were in the right place in Nottingham. We were buying 2 and 3 bedroom houses for the right price in Nottingham that all needed a bit of work. And then when you were to look around Nottingham generally, there was cranes and things going on, and we had loads of regeneration. And then when you were to look locally on the streets where we were buying, you could see rundown houses, boarded up. I bought a whole street of 22 houses that were all boarded up, and that takes a bit of balls, to be honest, because it looked, in some ways actually it was a little bit less because it was the whole street. I bought some, clients bought some, so at least you're in control.
Yeah.
It was probably ballsier to buy a house on a street of 10 that were all boarded up, and we did that, and I would say that in my 1 to 10 there'd have been 2s, and maybe you're not comfortable with 2s, and it did take an extra year or so for them to come good, but they came good, and they were probably some of my best. I mean, buying a house for 38 to 52,000 pounds in Nottingham, I can tell you now they're all worth 250 grand at least. 12 years ago, 10 years ago. So do the maths. You wish you'd have bought as many of those as possible.
Totally.
So yeah, that's what's worked well in the past. Finding the right areas in the country, the right place in the area, the right house at the right price, regenerating the house in an area that's regenerating, in a city that's regenerating, or a town that's regenerating. So that's the layers to it. The bad news is Nottingham's run out.
Pretty much.
it's gone.
There's still some cheaper houses in Nottingham, but they're just in little parts of the city. You wouldn't want to buy it.
Yeah.
We can do better. We can do better elsewhere.
We can absolutely. And what we're going to get onto now is what might work well in the future.
Yeah. And what's working well right now as well.
Yeah. Now, do you want to do the slide with the numbers on? I think that's
Say,
instructional for the next part.
I was going to say, so we've got our team of guys, our sourcing and renovation managers. They're actively sourcing and renovating houses every day of every month for our clients. Should we list those areas? We tell people, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
So bring it up. So this is some data, some live data from Zoopla, and it coincides with a number of areas where we operate. We have teams in Hartlepool, Middlesbrough, Sunderland, in North Lincolnshire, in Barnsley, in Hull, in Stoke-on-Trent, in Newcastle-under-Lyme. We can source and renovate property in Nottingham still and Mansfield. These are the highest yielding areas in England right now, and we're not sourcing and renovating there by fluke and coming across this data and going, we're there for a reason. There's a reason why Dean in Hull has done nearly 100 properties for our clients. There's a reason why we've sourced and renovated over 250, 300 houses in the last couple of years alone. We're in these areas.
Our sources are like wildebeests. They have to find the watering hole. And so that list there is not something we look at. We're putting it there for you guys. We don't need to look at that. If you take that approach that I talked about, the country, the region, the right type of area in the region, the right street, the right property, you get yourself all the way down. By the time you're in the right area, you can do better than those numbers. Because those numbers there,
they're just general
numbers for that area. Well, once you got past Yorkshire and the Humber, well, is it that bit of Hull or that bit of Grimsby?
Exactly.
Is it that street? You can beat those numbers by a long, long, long way, and then buy the house even cheaper than that.
Their average data on Zoopla.
Yes, correct. So if you're looking at 6 and 7% and thinking, well, that's not brilliant, we're buying the house for a lot less. That does include the 5-bed detached house in there.
Exactly.
That does include that. That includes
houses that aren't renting for the highest amount, then that
All
includes
those.
houses that aren't at the highest level standard.
Yeah.
All of ours are, because we renovate them to that standard and we get the highest rent possible.
Yeah.
So yeah, we can do, that's just average, we're better than average.
There's one important fact about this, and this is why we don't look at these lists, is because these lists are completely and utterly useless to you, because they're out of date.
Yeah.
That list tells you what has happened last year or the year before even.
Last year.
Yeah, done. So if it was reported last year, that happened last year. Now, when did you have to have bought that house to take advantage of that last year? A year ago. So if we were to wait for this list to come out, it would have said Nottingham on it. It would have said, yeah, we've got to be in the right areas. This is, yeah, it doesn't say Nottingham on it, but there are plenty of lists that do.
Good news for you, Colin, because you bought an Hartlepool last
Yeah,
year.
right. So yeah, it's historical, and the trick is to beat the numbers by buying the right property, but look at it ahead, and you can't go on the data. It's absolutely no coincidence, our sources are in the areas where they're in, because they've looked at the other areas and it didn't work. So yeah, what might work in the future? Yeah, take that. Do you want to map up?
Yeah.
So this is a map that we put together. It looks a bit, looks very pretty, Lauren, thank you. Might look a little bit simplistic, but we want to get down to detail. And are you going to put the link in? Yeah, so put the link in once we finish talking about it. But these here, so the whole of the UK, this is broadly speaking where we're buying. I'm not saying there's nothing absolutely in none of the other areas, there might be, and I would say that somewhere in the middle there it disappears. There might need to be another little spot there, but it's the red hotspots that we've identified where we're active. I did love to find a couple more, and maybe there are a couple more pins to put down, but what we're going to do is when you get this as a map, you can click on each of the red hotspots, and it will bring up a case study of an actual property that we've bought and all the numbers. We've only got a half an hour left, and 55-minute webinar, including Q&A. So to go through 10 different houses in the time, we're going to be boring you silly, and you might not be interested. But if you are, you can click on there and actually see what properties work. So, come on, talk us through the areas of them.
They are the areas where we're active now. So we have teams in the East Midlands that source and renovate. We have teams in Stoke-on-Trent, in South Yorkshire, in Middlesbrough, Hull, North Lincolnshire, in South Shields or Newcastle, Sunderland area. In each of those areas, I have a person, a sourcing and renovation manager. As I said, David and Dina are on the call today. They can find you a house, manage a renovation on it if required, and then have us manage the lettings of it. I'd like to talk about what defines a hotspot. So how we define it and how the media defines it, I think is slightly different.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
So these are our hotspots. These are where we're active. We've chosen specifically to be there. We haven't done it because the property section in The Guardian said it was a hotspot. Because you can go on some of the sort of news, the Times or wherever, they'll tell you Bristol or where the average house price is 180 grand or something, or 200, probably more than that, but 200 and something, and it's a hotspot because a year ago the average price there was 200. We don't want to be in that part of the market. We want to be buying cheap houses, renovating them, refinancing them, and watching them double in value in 5 years and then in 10 years. If it's being spoken about in more of the mainstream as a hotspot, it's happened more or less. Nottingham still gets mentioned now as a great area for buy-to-let investment, because they'll look at one of those tables, like those yield tables, and go, look at that, wow. And then I'll say, no, you don't want to be buying there. So a house that we bought in Nottingham 5 years ago for 85 grand that needed 20 spending on it is worth, in good condition, 170 to 180 grand now. I've seen that with houses I own. To buy that house run down now is about 130 to 140k. The renovation's slightly more. You're not going to get the returns that you can if you can buy 2 houses in Hartlepool with that money, or 2 houses in Hull. It's just not worth it. That area's moved on. That's why it's being spoken about in the mainstream as a hotspot, because they're looking at the sort of past data. The past data, the success. We're getting in there ahead of that. and then going, oh, they're talking about it now. See, we knew we were doing the right thing. I think that's for us what we define as a hotspot, and that's why we have our teams in those areas. I don't know. What do you want to talk about next? Do you want to talk about how we actually go about that?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
How source it, and then I've got those things afterwards. Those 4 bits there. But let's talk about the actual process. Yeah.
What these guys actually what does a property sourcer do, and how do they source property better than someone sitting on their computer every night looking at Rightmove, right? Yeah. So, for example, take Dean on the call there, Hull. Dean sourced nearly 100 properties for us, and he'd sourced many, many more before we'd even met him, because he's been doing it for a long time, which means Dean has a lot of... there he is.
There's Dean. You're spotlighted.
Hey. He's got fantastic relationships with the local estate agents in his area. They all know him by name. They will phone him up when they know they've got houses coming on the market. He can walk into every estate agent with the latest client. We did a call with a client this week. He's got a proof of funds. He wants 2 properties. We've sourced him one. You're viewing another one on Monday or Tuesday. You can walk into every estate agent in your area with a proof of funds for that client and saying, right, look, I've got this. What have you got for me? Who are they going to pick up the phone to on Wednesday after meeting him on Monday? They're going to ring Dean.
Absolutely.
Do you know what I mean? And that's what the beauty of having these guys, like David as well up in South Shields.
So you're all coming on, guys. That's Andy. Okay.
Andy here as well.
Give us a wave, Andy.
Can you hear us, Andy? You're there anyway, and Jamie as well.
Jamie's there.
So the beauty of it is having their relationships and having the relationships with builders. And suppliers, so you can get a renovation done to the price you cost it for 3 months earlier when you viewed it, or 2 months earlier, or 6 weeks earlier when you viewed it. Having the renovation done efficiently, on time and on budget, and then the right tenant moving in, which is what our company does.
Do you know what I'm finding interesting there, guys? Apart from you, Dino, you must be sitting there with your feet up.
Yeah, the others
you're
are all
out and about, aren't you? You're all out and about.
Jamie's doing viewings today, he told me. Because Jamie's got a HMO and a singlet to find. Yeah. Andy's got a singlet to find. David's got orders coming his way, and Dean's already worked. Dean's got his feet up because he's already booked all his viewings.
He's done it. Totally seriously, it's called a hotspot. I mean, how many people do you think want a hot house and a hot spot? How do you get a hot house and a hot spot? You wear out your shoe leather looking for it. It's not easy. You identify this hot spot, and you're in a queue. And I've got to say, guys, you all do great. You find the houses when they come in, but there are other people that just don't.
Unmute Dean.
Go on, Dean.
Because Dean's not going to have any background noises. He's in his. Can you unmute yourself if we request it, Dean?
This is IT, remember?
There you go.
Yeah. Just tell really briefly the house we found this week for that client. How did you get that?
Well, it's still good contacts of mine, and this house was offered to me because I'm well known. It was offered to me off market, so I managed to get into the house prior to it going onto the market. Agreed a price with the vendor, and obviously then we offered it out to a client that you got, Adam, where on a buy to order.
Yeah.
So we jumped on a Zoom meeting with him, we went through everything, and he basically, I know he didn't give you the go ahead until the following morning, but basically gave us the go ahead to say yes, I'll have it now.
He'd been on one of these webinars of the week. Then he booked a call with me. I talked him through our process and how it works. We looked at all his requirements. He completed the buy to order form, and then it really looked like everything matched to hook him up with you. And you found him his first house. I want to know, right? Tell these guys, you priced that renovation up at 22,020 quid, I think it was, something like that.
That's right.
Why are you so confident that you can price it up to £22,020 and not 22 grand or 23 or 22 and a half? And why are you confident that in 6 to 8 weeks, we expect that to complete, that you're going to get away for that, the renovation?
With the greatest of respect to you, Adam, I've been doing it a lot longer. I think you were still in nappies when I started doing this, so that's why I got it to that figure. And I've never ever gone over budget yet in all the 90 odd houses I've done for.
You haven't. And that's, that's it. It's experience. You can't buy it.
We can. You can actually.
Oh, you can. Yeah.
Just there.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah.
We like to make the process. We just like to make the process easy, don't we? From sourcing to buying to renovating it to renting it. You've got a well-oiled machine, you two, and it works well.
It does.
I get a lot of positive feedback from all of our clients.
Very good.
Cool.
Thanks, Dean.
Cheers.
Okay.
David, what are you buying up there at the moment? What you're doing? What you're out and about at? You have to unmute yourself.
Is he frozen?
No, he's there. Oh, there's Andy. We've got 5 minutes. You're fulfilling an order at the moment, so just going through what Adam's talking about the process, and this isn't just about you getting insight into what a property investor's doing right now, finding these houses. It's not just about us fulfilling orders. But go on then, David. What are you up to today?
You're still muted, David.
You're still muted.
You have to ask him to unmute.
I did.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
There you
I'm
go.
on there now.
How are you doing? Yeah.
You hear me?
Yeah, we can. You have a good day.
Yeah, great. Just coming away from site. But we're getting orders through at the minute. We'll just see the great property in Seaham, which we purchased for £47,000. The renovation cost will be round about 24 grand, with a resellable value of about 150 to 120,000 pounds.
Yeah. What will that rent for? What's the rent on that one?
Sorry?
What's the rental level?
The rent on that one will be around about 650 to 700.
Yeah.
Bro.
Really strong. Really strong.
Really strong yields, and we're trying to aim for 6 to 12% yields, and very often it's double digits.
Yeah.
Very often.
Yeah.
Lovely. Thanks, David.
Cheers. Andy, you there? You got to unmute yourself.
Hey up, Andy.
You alright?
Oh, still can't hear you.
No, I can't hear you.
Must
Why
be
is that?
maybe your
No.
earphones. We're good at sourcing and renovating property, we're rubbish at tech. Let's go to Jamie while Andy tries
Jamie,
to
we're gonna come to you. Andy, if you just unmute yourself and start talking.
It's like a
just
really
let us-
rubbish mid-morning TV show.
It is, yeah. Who'd watch this?
Right,
Jamie, now then, more importantly, just ignore everybody else on there. Have you sorted that HMO out yet? Because we've got an order burning in our hole. The client is chomping like this, wants an HMO. Have you sorted it?
Yeah, I'm ready to go. I've got one
Good.
in pipeline, and we
Good.
believe we're going to jump on a call with the vendor as soon as possible.
Brilliant, really good. Because yeah. I mean, there's some pressure in our business, isn't there? Once you place your order, we've got to fulfil it. So the guys are out there
Definitely.
hunting around. James in Stoke. So
Where are you now? Are you on the way to view that singlet now?
Yes, I'm doing a single let, but before I go to there, I'm on the way to the deal that completed last week. I'm going to meet Ben, the kitchen fitter there, because I think the boiler can be moved out of the kitchen. It's having a new boiler, so I think it could go somewhere else and make more space in the kitchen, so I just want to meet him there for that.
Nice.
brilliant. Good.
Awesome.
Okay, well, I've just noticed you're driving. I'm going to mute you. Stop it.
Yeah, I'm driving.
Stop it! You're going to crash live on a bloody webinar. Go. Andy, did you figure it out? No, you didn't. Andy's busy. You busy?
Don't know. Speak, Andy. Come here.
You got
He
it.
can't hear us.
Yeah,
Right.
no, it's-
Okay.
Cool.
Try and get
Hello.
Oh.
Hey, there you are.
Nice one. What are you up to, Andy? Where you off to? We can hear you. Speak.
Struggling to hear, to be honest.
We can hear you.
All right. He can't hear us. We'll
Yeah,
come back to you, mate. We'll
come
come
back,
back to you.
come back.
Right. Cool.
Come back.
Okay. So look, we don't normally get to do that, but that was just a nice way of introducing you guys to a few more of our team. People only ever see me and Jess.
Yep.
Getting sick of us. Have we got any questions in the chat? If we haven't, please feel free.
Yeah, keep them in.
Any question, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
There's no difficult question, no silly one. Please pop your questions in there. Oh God,
You right?
my voice.
Right, okay.
Yeah. What's
I've got
next?
the next thing.
What's
So,
next?
well, keep getting your questions in. What I want to talk about now is some of the extra layers that are going to help you buy the houses and feel confident to buy the houses in these hotspots. Because as we went through the list, first thing, the way I feel it works, and you might feel the same thing, is when we're talking about the UK, and I'm saying pick your region, then we talk about the region, pick your area, pick your house type, pick a house that's maybe going to need a bit of work, etc., etc. One of the things I'm very well aware of, and Adam is too, is when you speak to a client that's maybe just thought about buying in buy-to-let, over fancifully in the last couple of years, in the same way as they might talk about buying stocks and shares or putting some money into an ISA. So they're not really property people, if you like that. Those 4 people on the screen there have been buying properties for years, and this comes naturally to us. But we know that when we speak to somebody who's fresh to it, every time I come down that stage, UK, don't buy in London, buy in these regional areas. Don't buy in Nottingham, buy in Mansfield. Don't buy on that street, buy in this street. Don't buy that house, buy this crappy little house. We're getting further and further away from something that you are probably naturally comfortable with.
Yeah. Oh, that's good.
100%.
Yeah.
So we're going, not London, regions. Not the shiny bit of the region, the outlier. Not that shiny street and the 5-bedroom house, this 3-bedroom one in a level 4 house. You want me to buy one with shutters on it?
I just thought something else as well, right?
Mm.
So we were chatting with a guy this week who's put an order in. Jamie's sourcing a house, and he turned one down because, in his opinion, the comparables weren't there. Now, we put together a comparable report using Rightmove Plus, which is the surveyor tool of Rightmove, okay? And we would never try and say the degree of house if it didn't have some data to back up the end value and end rental. And he, even though there was a house that had sold in November on the same street for roughly the amount that we think this one would be worth, he turned it down because he cast his net on his comps about 2 miles,
Right.
and found a house that was bigger that sold for the same amount.
Mm.
And he said, if that house is 85 square metres and I found one that's 125 square metres 2 miles away that also sold for 135, and he turned it down. And then we looked at it, and on the photos it actually didn't look horrendous. It looked all right. An estate agent will, usually a good one, will list any house with the photos will look quite good. The reality is that slightly bigger house that sold for the same price as what we thought this one would be worth needed money spending on it.
Needed a lot of money. Okay.
And so it's really difficult.
Well, that's why you need the experts to
Yeah.
go find it.
Yeah.
Sat from your armchair looking through Rightmove, I think it's almost impossible.
The last few the first few houses I bought in Nottingham, I never would have bought them had I not been working inside this business, because I wouldn't have seen the potential there probably, even though I'm from Nottingham.
You think they might have been too scary?
Yeah. Or I'm not confident it will be worth that, but I got look. You bought one on that road about 2 months earlier, so I just thought I just copied you. But no, it's really hard sometimes to, even when you're looking at the data in front of you that we've put together the same way as surveyor, to even still have the confidence to say, okay,
Yep.
yeah, I get it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But you need that local knowledge on top of it. It's an extra layer.
Yeah, I think you can always find a reason to buy something or a reason not to buy something. If you're roughly in the ballpark, you probably are.
Yeah.
You probably are. What I was going to talk about was, as I'm doing my narrowing down to that particular street, and we know that some clients will look at it and go, what the heck, and that's fine. We source anything you want. Maybe you want a house in Nottinghamshire versus a house in, we couldn't buy a house in Nottinghamshire for much less than 100 grand, let's say.
Yeah.
But the guys on the screen there, you can all buy a 50 or 60 grand house, some of them can buy a 40 grand house, and you take your pick, you take your pick, but as long as you're somewhere in the ballpark, you're somewhere in the ballpark. The questions that will go through your mind, the reasons not to buy that kind of house, I think, well, there's a couple. One is capital appreciation. You think that a house that's 50 or 60,000 pounds will always be worth 50 or 60,000 pounds. Nothing is further from the truth. It's definitely true that they can languish for a while. The North East has been typical of that for 10 years almost.
It still is in some bits.
Still isn't in some
We've
bits.
picked the bits that it's not.
Absolutely. There are still some bits in London that don't go up.
Yeah. Well, you said that
I was
Northampton.
looking at my
in
Northampton stuff. Some of my Northampton stuff hasn't gone up for 10 years.
Yeah, but it had gone up since the price you bought it for, hadn't it? So
the hotspot areas where we'd say this was a hotspot, we have never bought a house in one of those areas that hasn't doubled in value in 5 years. And I think that's
like
that's
a 40,
the
50
testament.
grand house.
We've never bought a 40, 50, 60,000 pound house that hasn't gone to 100 to 150 in about 5 years. That's a big deal. So
I've got data to back up that.
Oh yeah, if you say really,
The house I bought in 2017 was refinanced last year for 160, and it was bought for 85. It's nearly double.
Yeah,
pretty much.
when you get that map, all the case studies, some of them aren't 5 years old yet, so might be getting there. But we've got case studies older. All you've got to do is go onto land registry. I've got a spreadsheet of all my properties and the stuff I bought 10 years ago. Yeah, of that 30 St Barts. And I bought it 10, 11, 12, 14 years ago. It was a 6-month refinance, a 2-year fix, a 5-year fix, and then I didn't refinance last year because. So I'm just coming to it a bit late. I think it's worth 200 grand. You know, that's a big chunk. It's gone from 50 grand to 200 in that period of time. So that's what a hotspot can do. So in terms of your capital appreciation, I think you're going to get better capital appreciation in the hotspots versus that gold-plated, London, Manchester, Nottingham, whatever it is, where, let's face it, the capital appreciation, that bump has already gone. Why does the bump happen? More people could afford a £50,000 house than any other type of house. You know, think about the mortgage.
Rents are affordable.
Rents are affordable. It's affordable. It's not just £50,000 house isn't just affordable. £100,000 house is almost equally affordable. I know that sounds a bit silly because it's double, but you think about the money in your pocket after the average salary. If you're paying a mortgage on a £50,000 house or a £100,000 house, it's very, very, very doesn't really make much difference, particularly with 2 income earners in the home. And those areas, once they go over, and this is why they can languish for quite a while. Once an area goes over about 50 or 60 or 75, they're different thresholds, £1,000 in average value, they tend to pop because they become more mortgageable. People like us notice them. I mean, we weren't up in the northeast while they were all sat there at 50 and nothing was moving. And then when they start to creep, that's where the wave is. And I just guarantee, can't say guarantee, but you know what I mean. I'll put my own money where my mouth is. They are going to go. They're just going to go because we've seen it happen in all the other hotspots. And
we've seen we've seen the regeneration as well, aren't we? So when we went to Hartlepool, we saw what's going on there. You can see what's going to be happening there in the next 10 years.
When we first went to Stoke with Jamie, you could buy a house for £35,000 in Stoke, and well, you can't. We can't see you on the screen anymore, Jamie, because you've gone on to the other view. But 60, 70 is your minimum now. So they are still there. So capital appreciation will be one of the things you're thinking. These hotspots look good, but are they ever going to go up in value? The yield might look good initially, but no. Part of the word hot is the capital appreciation as well. It's not just they're going to yield well. We think capital appreciation goes up a lot as well. The next thing that will be on your mind is the tenant type. If you're buying a cheap house, it's all very good saying that I can rent it out for £650 a month, David. But what's my tenant type? Can I really rent it out for that? And will the tenant be a good quality tenant? Will they pay on time? Will they trash the house? All those things. The 2 fears of a landlord: getting no rent and will my tenant look after the house? In our experience, there is no difference whatsoever between a rent at £650 and a rent at £1,000, £2,000 in terms of the quality of the tenant, so long as the house that you present to the street is decent and safe. You can't put them into a horrible, damp, rat-infested house, otherwise they won't treat it right and you'll have a problem tenant.
I would say the same thing. If you supply a nice house and it's decent and safe and it meets all the requirements, you put a tenant in there, 9 times out of 10, then we'll look after it. I've got I've got plenty of bad stories of bad tenants in expensive
Yeah.
rental houses.
And arguably, not even arguably, it is. It's a bigger risk having a tenant in a £2,000. I've got a house that that one I was going to move into. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a little flip, and I was going to be in it.
Whilst you renovate
Well,
this
I renovated this house, and then we decided it was too far away, so I still own it. And I can tell you now, the worktop in that house cost more than the deposit.
yeah, it does, yeah.
Deposit.
That kitchen's
Yeah, so the risk is bigger, isn't it? Yeah, we did a test of that kitchen in that house, and the worktop costs a lot more than the rental deposit I've got. So if that tenant doesn't pay or breaks something, you know, it's a much bigger risk and much bigger in a more expensive house. When I rent out a, you know, £100,000 house, you know, I've got maybe a £700, £800 rent deposit. Well, you know, the carpets are pretty cheap. I can clean it up, redecorate a few walls, and put new carpets in for £1,000.
We only
a lot less risk.
rent property to working people. They have to pass affordability checks. They have to go through referencing, landlord referencing, credit check, employment referencing.
Yeah. Going down a slight rabbit hole there, because actually the main news is tenants don't generally trash the house, and they do generally pay their rent. And if they don't, you can insure against it.
The types of houses that we buy in the areas that we buy are 60 to 75% of the population live in those sorts of areas.
Actually, almost none of our clients do. So there will be alien worlds to you, and we get that. You know, when a client starts to look around an area 2, 3, or 4, there will be scruffy houses on the street. There will be, you know, an empty shop over the road, or a car wash, or an old petrol station. There's a car wash quarter of a mile away, or that kind of stuff. I remember buying on the Carlton Road in Nottingham, and saying to a client, we looked out and it was a derelict wasteland over the road. I went, isn't that brilliant? He went, what?
There's a little there now.
How long do you think that's going to be a derelict wasteland?
Yeah.
What, a year, 2 years, 3 years? In the end, it was 3 years. There's a little there. It's all beautiful, you know, trees.
But there's another
that
big shop opposite as well. Yeah.
So you look at something, you think, you buy a house, it's all boarded up next door, and you think, well, I'm buying it for this price, it's worth this right now. And as soon as that guy fixes his house next door, mine will be worth just a little bit more. So, other thing would be managing a renovation from afar. Well, finding the property. You know, some of these hotspots are, look on the map, they might be 200 miles away, 300 miles away from you. Then renovating it from afar, and then managing it from afar. They're the 3 things. Now, I don't think that's going to be easy for most people. That's why we're in business doing what it is that we do. I wouldn't drive to the northeast and try and find a house, renovate it, and then rent it out. If you get the right team, it can be as easy and seamless as renovating and renting something just down the road. And I prove it every day. I mean, if I buy a house in Mansfield, I could drive to it, see it, renovate it, see a tenant. The same thing if I do something in Greater Manchester. I can't do all those things. I do both, and my actions are exactly the same. I write a few emails and send it off, and I get a statement back at the end of the month. I bought houses in Mansfield recently, and houses in northwest recently, and I've seen neither of them. Tom shouted the other day.
Like nearly all of our clients.
I had an argument with him almost. It's like, that isn't one of mine. It was one of my house Robridge. Yeah, I've just completely forgotten I bought it. And I can't picture
most of our clients rarely ever go. I mean, some do. We encourage it if they want to. We've met our guys meet the clients and they talk them through the renovation and after the renovation. So, but a lot of people don't.
They don't. But I think I wouldn't want to overemphasise that. I think I know. Adam, we as a company only want to deal with the wrong word. We want to have engaged clients.
Yeah.
This idea that you can be hands off and hands free, it's a fact, you can, but you do need to understand what you're getting into, go into your eyes wide open, understand the risks. That 1-page business plan that Adam goes through, we pepper in there a few things. Well, what could go wrong? Are you comfortable with that? You've done a renovation on the property, you don't always do the roof or whatever, and then the roof blows off the next week. Are you okay with that? You know how you got the right insurance policy? We'll put as much stuff around it as possible to make you very well prepared. But there's some work, there's some risk. Nothing comes easy or for free. And you can definitely do it from a laptop 300 miles away, as I've just described. But just because you're that, it doesn't totally insulate you from it. You've got to be a landlord. I like the word landlord rather than investor. The idea of just being an investor and dealing with it like stocks and shares or buying gold bars. Gold bars don't have plumbing problems. So there's an element of operational noisiness that you've got to deal with, and get the right team involved, and it's totally doable. Don't let that put you off, but just be aware of it, and Adam would make sure we have that as a conversation. Right, Q&A, and I know we've got some
We've come
questions.
to the end now. Thanks for being on the call for the best part of the last hour. I did notice a couple of questions pop in, yeah, there's the first one there. What's a ballpark figure for a 3-bed house to invest? I'll flip that on its head. The average deal that we do, you need the minimum you need is about 90 grand, 85 to 90k to buy a house, renovate it, and pay all the associated fees. The ballpark figure for a 3-bedroom house is slightly different in each area, of course. 80 grand maybe as an average, but it would have to just sort of boil down into the areas that you'd be interested in investing in, to be honest. But I would say if you've got anywhere from 85 to 100k, that is enough for us to find a house for you, help you buy it in cash, help you renovate it, and then help you refinance it and manage the tenant as well. Next one down. Oh, was there? Oh, apologies.
There we go.
Oh yeah, go on then, you do that one.
We didn't discuss HMOs on the one-to-one. We mainly talk about buy-to-lets, so as opposed to houses of multiple occupation.
Right, okay, yeah. So yeah, you need a lot more.
Yeah.
If you're going to buy a HMO and then renovate that, you're going to need 200k plus.
Mm-hmm.
They are good value in the similar areas, yeah. You're going to refinance them out and tie up a bit more money. You're going to tie up about 3 times the amount of money in a HMO. After refinance, you're going to cash flow about 3 times the amount. We do HMOs. We've converted more than 50, 60 HMOs, 50, 60 properties into HMOs. We do them. We have a process. Yeah. We manage them.
Jamie's doing one right now.
Jamie's sourcing one now in Stoke-on-Trent for a client. Andy's done one. Me and Dean were talking. Yeah, Dean. Well, they've got Article 4 in Hull, so it's more tricky. We've done loads in Derby and Nottingham. So we can talk about HMOs, Hamish. That's fine.
Yeah, and anybody else, and housing multiple occupation. We do when we're having a webinar like this. It's not that we're just focusing on buy-to-lets. It's we're focusing on the 2 or 3 bedroom house, because otherwise we deep dive into it. But yeah, we can put an HMO together as easily as we can. A single let. There's some good reasons for it. When you go through the one-page business plan, it would tell you what you should buy. I think every landlord should know that it's an option and know how to put it into their portfolio if they can. And I put them in because if you're trying to get leverage, trying to remortgage, it gets to a point when an HMO can rebalance your yield calculation for the lenders, so it's quite useful for that.
True.
That one there, so, 900 years flat.
Good question from a newbie. What are your expert opinions on buying flats with longer leases versus freehold? Also, any thoughts on buying in new developments versus old? Yeah, I've got a thought on that. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't go near it. Anything leasehold, I wouldn't touch. Anything with service charges, I would stay far away from it as possible. You asked for our opinion.
I've got an extra opinion on that.
Thoughts on buying new developments versus old? Personally, I would say a new build flat or house will sell for more than what it's really worth, and I would always prefer to buy something older and make it nice, do it up and add the value myself, personally. Yeah.
There's a potential, not right now, there really isn't right now, but at some point in the market cycle of buying off plan and getting something cheaper and it goes up in value because you bought it off plan. That has happened in the past. Just be aware, because, well, the classic example for me, it all sticks out. There's a building in the middle of Northampton where it was bought off plan. Some people did really well. They bought them for 120 grand, and at the peak they were worth 200, but they're all worth 60 now. So all worth 60 grand. Yeah, and the swimming pool underneath is now closed down and boarded over. It's just like it can go wrong. The thing about buying in a block of flats is you're not in control. There's in that situation there was 200 other leaseholders, and if they went bust and handed their keys back, they're not paying the service charge. You can go down really quickly. maybe it's a different thing. If there's one front door and 6 flats, it might be a different thing, but the service charge again can go up and down. In a bust period, flats go up, and so go down first and come back up again first. So actually, buying a flat after can work if you're going to flip it, but that service charge is just a killer.
Yeah.
And if other people aren't paying it, then either the building's going down in disrepair and your rent's going down and you're getting problems, or you're paying double to pay up for everybody else. The one thing I would add about the leaseholds, 900 plus years, there are houses in Yorkshire, South Yorkshire,
Northwest,
that are leasehold, but then they are...
Your one on Hollins Grove.
Correct. So that's a different thing. It's you that's owning it. It's a virtual freehold. What we're trying to differentiate between is a flat leasehold. There's no such thing as a freehold flat, but what we do find sometimes is a street in an old mining town or a steel town, and they're all 999-year leases. Quite often the freeholder buggered off in 1952 or whatever. That's a very standard thing, and people are used to buying those. They're mortgageable.
True.
You have to get an indemnity for them.
So do you use bridging to secure all our houses? Okay, so we don't secure your house. We help you buy it, and we sale agree it for you. Some of our clients have used bridging in the past to help buy the house. Most buy it in cash because bridging is expensive. But if it's a means to an end, we can help recommend, put someone in touch who can help you recommend a bridging product. It's been done. Rob says, are you counting the refurb fees, etc., in the value increase or just in this repair? Yeah, I can't have it all. I'm talking about the purchase price, and then 4 or 5 years later, that's doubled in value.
Yeah.
If you wanted to add in all your fees and all your renovation, you're asking a lot there. To double. But you know, we've baked in some equity at the start, and in that time it will go up. Next one there. This is a very important point. How much should we expect to pay a management company like yours? Hey, good question.
Well, we're actually just looking at this right now. This second. The answer is, should we say 10 to 12%?
Yeah.
Done that. Now
we're redoing all our fee schedule. All of our landlords are going to receive an email. We'll make a video about it.
Yeah, we will.
We're simplifying it. We've taken on board feedback from clients. We're introducing a new fee schedule for landlords very soon. Tiered, you can almost pick and choose and make your own. That's the key to it. But 10 to 12%.
The answer there is there's more work that needs doing. We're at pains in our new fee schedule, and I think we missed a trick recently where we've added extra things that we do, and we haven't explained what they are and why they're useful. And what we're then doing is saying, and you don't have to have them if you don't want, but I really think you should, and separating it all out. One of the fees, one of the what do you call it, pillars, the levels, is 22%. And people go, what? But actually, we worked out 22% is the best value one because it includes guaranteed rent, which is always about 4% on top of your rent. So. And maintenance things and all the compliance checklists. It includes a lot of stuff. Just the headline number, 10 to 12% is about right now.
There's another question there. How does your deal work in and out? I'm not really sure.
No, I can probably have a guess at what that means.
Do you buy from auction?
So two different questions. How does it work in and out? So how do you get in? How do you get out? If we're talking about sourcing property, which I guess is what you're talking about, those guys that came on the screen earlier, they are property sourcers. So the process is, after this call, there's a link. You're going to put a link. So there'll be a link, you click it, you go to our website, you can click it, you get on a Zoom call, and Adam takes an order. He says, what do you want? Where do you want it? How much you got? There's a panel, a checklist, it's all written down, that's your order taken. The order goes to those guys. You have a call with those guys, with Adam, so all three of you discuss, right, this is the order, I'm going out Monday morning to find it, I'll check in with you every day this week, maybe by WhatsApp, and we'll have a Zoom call again on Thursday, whatever it is, until I found you a house. Once you found a house, you buy it, you instruct the solicitors, you buy the house yourself in your own name. The person who you're on the call, the sourcer, they're sourcers and renovation managers, so if there's any works needed, they'll do the work, get it compliant, get it rented out, then it goes over to the property management hub. You own it at that point, so it's just a normal, you just feel like a landlord with a letting agent at that point. It's all the rent's coming in, you get a statement. And then to get out, which I guess we're talking about, is usually some of our clients keep it in cash, just own it.
True.
And or to get out, refinance 6 to 12 months later, you put a refinance in there. I think that's what that meant. And to move on from auctions, no. I haven't told you this, I sold a house yesterday, haven't I?
Yeah.
Day before, Wednesday. I completely forgot about it.
There we go.
Yeah. So I sold a house at auction, and I would never buy a house at auction, but the fact that I'd sell one at auction tells you
a lot.
I got 10 grand more than I think it was worth from auction. I hope none of you bought it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Cool. Just scroll down, Jess, on the chat. I'm buying my first buy-to-let currently in Sheffield area and doing blah, blah, blah. What do you suggest to do for my next move after refinancing? I hope to pull a lot out. Book a call.
Yeah, I was going to say, do it exactly the
Sounds
same
a bit
thing.
personal. Book a call in my diary and let's have a chat.
Yeah, but I'd say do exactly the same thing again.
Yeah.
If you manage to do all that, if you manage to buy it, you've renovated it, you rented it, and you're going to refinance it, and you're going to hope to pull some money out of refinance, and it all worked.
I'd hope to think you might pull out more than that, but let's have a chat.
Do it again.
Thank you for your time. I'm just getting started in this space. We'd love to chat with people who experience what's the best.
Why would I not buy at auction? They're too expensive. Sorry, Colin, I didn't explain. They're too expensive. So there's a group of property investors, landlords in Nottingham. They're all on a WhatsApp, 2 or 3 different WhatsApp groups, and yeah, I don't think people haven't bought at auction. Serious investors for over a decade now. I remember the last time I actually seriously thought about it, and I did all that work, go view it, work out what I'd pay for it. You know, here's the comps, here's my cost of works, and the fact that I was there doing it must have been, it was quite a while ago, because Julie or whoever would have done it now. I never even got my hand up in the air. Never even put my hand up. So the bidding started higher than the absolute maximum I would pay, and it just kept going and going and going. It's why these hotspots. So the hotspot we talk about, we're very micro into the last 20 quid in Dean's case.
Yeah.
But if you're sat in an armchair, and it's all online now, which was brilliant for me. The guy that bought the house off me yesterday was living in London, and it was £107,000. Nothing. I mean, honestly, to that guy sat on his laptop buying in London online, whether it was a 97 or 107, whatever to him, I'm sure, and that's what happened. But he's overpaid by 10 grand, like 27 grand on it.
Nice.
We don't get there. Any other questions?
No. Thank you everyone for joining. Nice to see some familiar faces again too. Feel free to book and call and have a chat with me, and look forward to seeing some of you next week maybe.
Cool. What is next week's one?
Good question.
God, Lauren, what's our webinar next
Flipping
week?
property or buy-to-let.
Flip or develop to rent. Buy to let, yeah.
Buy to let or flipping? Why flipping a house is a stupid idea. Is that what it's called? Yes. Right. Cheers. Have a nice afternoon. Bye.
Thanks everyone. Cool.
Bye to Utu.
Facebook.
Is this Facebook?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Right.